Hi, this is Edward Troxel. In today's video, we're going to look back at one of our older videos where we added a bunch of new tracks to the timeline via the script, and today we're going to expand on that by being able to take those tracks and adding them to track groups so that we can group tracks so that they all belong together, can be grouped into one group so they can be expanded or collapsed to save space on the timeline. An example of grouping tracks can be found in the import script from Vegas Stream. For example, we can tell it to group track sections. If that box is checked, when we import from the stream, and once all the pieces have been pulled in for this stream, you'll notice we have a track group here called Media and Titles that has all of our titles listed in it. Then we have the switch track. Then after that, we have the original video and audio from each of the different sources, which we can close, and then we have the original program stream that would have been sent out over the web or just the base recording. And so each of these can be opened or closed to save space, and then if we need to look at any of them again, we can just open that particular section. So let's learn how to do this. Let's look back at our base script here, and we'll go back to where we were adding tracks to the timeline. So all of this is just our basic stuff that is in every one that we use. Then down here we are adding a new video track. We're adding it into the 0 position, so that means it's on top. And then we are adding it to the project. Next, let's add an audio track. In this case, it's being added to position 99, which means it'll be at the bottom. And then we add that to the project. Next, we're adding a new video track here. In this case, we're adding it as track 2. Now, this one is in 0 position, this is in 1 position, so this one is now in 2 position, which means it's going to be at the bottom anyway. I could have used 99 just like I did above, and it still would have gone into the 2 position. Then, we add that to the project. Next, let's add another audio track in position 3, and add that to the project. And then we'll add one more video track, which we're adding to the bottom, which is position 99, and then we're adding that to the project. So now we have a video track, audio track, video track, audio track, video track. When grouping tracks, it works on selected tracks. So first thing I want to do is deselect all my tracks. So I went through this little routine here to make sure that every track was not selected. So for every track in the project, we want to set track.selected equals false. Then I'm going through and saying, okay, the first track I want selected, the second track I want selected, and so those are dot selected equals true. Then we can go through and tell Vegas to group the selected tracks, and that will group tracks 1 and 2 together. Now let's expand on that just a little bit farther. Once again, I'm going to clear all my track groupings, and then this time let's take tracks 3 and 4 and select those 2 tracks. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to tell it to group the selected tracks, but now I want to go in and make some changes to that group. So as you know, in the other example that I showed you, the groups had a name, and we can specify whether or not the group should be automatically collapsed. What I want to do is get this last group that I created. Fortunately, the last group created will be the last one. So I'm looking at the number of groups dot count. Remember, everything is 0 base, so I have to subtract 1. So there's 2 groups. I subtract 1. That means I'm going to look at group index number 1, which will be the second group. And so I look at the my Vegas.project.track groups, then get the count -1 is the one I want to look at, and then just assign that to a track group variable. Now I can take that track group variable and change the dot name to be the name I want to show up in Vegas. And then if I want that group to automatically be collapsed, then for that group I can just do a tg.collapse track group, and that will go ahead and shrink all the tracks in that group down to that single header line. So let's see how this works. Start with a blank project. It's going to automatically add all of the video and audio tracks, and then it's automatically going to group them. So we can see now we have tracks 1 and 2, and they are in a group which I can collapse or expand. And then we have tracks 3 and 4, which are inside this group that was automatically already collapsed, and it is named my collapse group. So I can open that up and close it back down as needed. And while you're in Vegas, if you wanted this one to have a name, you can just double click here and type in a new name for this group. Or you can right click this, choose rename, you can ungroup the selected tracks, you can collapse them, and so there are many options that are available to you here, so you can expand. So now you know how we can use a script to go ahead and build the groups that we want our tracks to be in. These can be as many or as few groups as you want to make, and as you can see, we can automatically collapse them if we want, or we can just leave them expanded and let the user collapse them as needed. And that will let you be able to organize the project a little easier, as all of the groups can define the different sections of your project. Please sign up at www.JETDV.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.